again, and today I'm going to talk about a subject that may be of interest to software developers, people writing code for games and graphics types of applications, and that is the use of RAW files. This is not like camera RAW, where you're working with high dynamic range imaging. This is more of images that are saved in the RAW format, not really a format, but as a RAW file. Because it's convenient for the developer to not have to, in certain cases, to not have to parse a complex file format, or because they want to insert their own information into the file, or some other type of use. And we've got several tools within the Howler that will help us with this under the file menu. I'm going to go ahead and export this as a RAW file, and as you see, we have several options for exporting RAW files. RGB, RGBA, and ARGB. That's basically the number of channels and the order of channels that you want to save. Pretty straightforward. A being alpha channel. In this case, you have two options with the alpha channel. You can have the alpha first or alpha last. And we have options for little endian and big endian. And that is basically the byte order that is used for saving the file. Byte order is platform dependent. Intel platforms use little endian, the old 68,000, the Motorola, and also the PowerPC would use big endian. Actually, PowerPC would do either or, so that was kind of nice. But if you're using Intel, we'll just go ahead and use the little endian format, and we'll go ahead and save that. And I'll just put it on my desktop for now. Call this something. And I will actually add some information to this file, because we actually don't add any extra header information to the file, so there's really no way for a software to extract that information specifically. So I'm just going to make it part of the file name. I believe this is 640 by 400. And what did I say? RGB format or ARGB format? I forget. Let's try RGB and call it a RAW file. Hit save. And a RAW file is just basically a binary file that contains the bits or bytes of the file itself with no additional header. Let's go and clear that and go into our import tool for RAW files. Whoops. Oh, wrong. I'm batting 1,000 here. Let's see, import RAW. And on the RAW loader, we have some options that really help us to test our file to make sure we are loading it with the correct specifications before we go ahead and load it into memory. So let's go ahead and click open and select that file. Alright, 640/400 RGB is very useful. I'm going to type that in, and I'm going to type something wrong in first and see what happens. And no header. Click test, and as you can see, that file comes up corrupted looking. I'm going to go ahead and type 640/400, no header. Click test, and as you can see, that loaded correctly. Just a matter of clicking load, and that'll bring it into the program. As we said before, 4 options for also adding an alpha channel to that. That's very useful for software. If you need an alpha channel for either a mask or for transparency. Let me test that. As you can see, that comes out incorrectly. So we do know we did actually save red, green, and blue bytes with no alpha channel. And as we said, the big endian, little endian issue, had we used the little endian or the big endian option, the colors would have come out incorrectly. So we know that we had the correct endianness, the byte order for this platform. So also header, had this been a binary file or a RAW file, but it had some header information, you could have skipped that header and gone and skipped directly into the bitmap data provided you know how long the header is. For example, if you were loading a raw Targa file, which is a little interesting piece of history, it is at least some of the older raw files or the older Targa files used a 40 byte header, and the rest of the information was basically raw bitmap data. So you could actually load a Targa by typing 40 here and giving the correct width and height, and that would actually load a Targa file. So that's a bit of interesting thing to know about. That actually shows incorrectly because we should not be skipping that. So that is raw loading, very useful for programmers, coders, and people who need to test different graphics applications who don't want to write complex parsing file routines. So thanks again for watching, and this has been Dan Ritchie, the developer of Howler, and ta-ta for now.